Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Aiara.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, we'll start with media we're consuming. Aiara, you can start.
Alrighty. So, everyone knows I've been on the Pikmin grind. The Automata anime is back, so I'm going to be watching that later. I went to see Barbie yesterday, and I'll talk about that more in the film section. But I went to see Barbie, and that's probably my highlight right now.
Cool. I haven't seen Barbie yet. I plan on seeing it sometime soon. But yeah, for me, I binged the Indiana Jones movies, so I could watch the new one. I'm gonna probably try and see that next Tuesday. So I'll probably talk about that next episode. Um, I might see like three movies in between uh, this episode and the next because Indiana Jones and was it? I want to see the new Mission Impossible and Barbie. So
Mm.
yeah, we'll see if I see all of them in the next couple of weeks. I've been still watching The Bear on Hulu. Uh, it's a good show about a chef trying to start a restaurant. Um, so my adventures with Superman, still ongoing. So I'm still watching that. Watching Demon Slayer. Don't have too much to say about it because I don't want to spoil it. But animation, man, like I said before, Ufa Table, they're at the top of their game. Uh, Started watching a new anime called Zom 100 that I'll talk a little bit about later in the animation section. Still watching Jujutsu Kaisen. There was a new episode of Bleach yesterday on Saturday. Um, so I finished Ben 10 Alien Force. Oh, excuse me, Ben 10 the original series, and I'm starting to watch Alien Force. But I didn't realize they removed Alien Force from HBO Max, or just Max as it is now. I was so mad. I had to buy it on YouTube.
Hey,
And the
yo.
thing is, I wanted to buy it on Blu-ray, but they just don't have Blu-rays of it. So I just got it on YouTube, and I don't like getting movies like on YouTube. Oh, excuse me, shows on
Right.
YouTube because you can rent movies. I've rent movies on YouTube every now and again, but I don't like buy movies or shows on YouTube because I feel like I don't really own it.
Right.
But I couldn't find Alien Force like a Blu-ray copy, but it's whatever. I'm watching it though. Alien Force is so good. It's my favorite of Ben 10s, and I was so excited to get to this point, and I'm excited to watch more of it. Finally getting back into watching Unicorn Warriors Eternal. Yeah, within the time since I last watched it, the entire first season finished airing. So I'm working my way towards finishing that up. Um, yeah, I forgot to mention when talking about Indiana Jones that the last movie I watched, the last movie in general before the newest one came out, Kingdom with the Crystal Skull, that came out in the early 2000s, is notoriously hated. And then I watch it, and it's one of those movies that you hear people dislike it, and then you go and watch it and go, why? um, I loved it. I think I see what people didn't like about it. Probably the CGI and the set pieces and the kind of like big reveal at the end might have been over the top for some people. But it's like it felt like a good ramp up from where all the other movies ended. Because they always end with something supernatural, and it's the
Gotcha.
same thing with Kingdom of Crystal Skull, except that they
Mhm.
go even further. And I feel like some people might not have liked that. I liked it. And the CGI is just like this movie came out in like 2008. Granted, Avatar came out around the same time, like either that year or the next year. But
But
like
then again,
nothing,
Avatar is
yeah,
by James Cameron. Like,
nothing compares to
it's not.
Avatar. So it's not a fair
Yeah, it's not
comparison.
comparable
And the
at
CGI,
all.
especially for 2008, isn't that bad. People were overreacting for sure. Kingdom of Crystal Skull is a great movie. Anybody tell you otherwise, they're just blinded by. Um, I don't know what they're blinded by. Honestly, I guess the CGI,
Anti nostalgia.
because it's not even nostalgia. Because I don't think people are saying it's bad in comparison to the old movies as much as they're just saying the CGI is bad. Um, yeah, and I finally got back into playing Metal Gear Solid 3. Similar to my experience with the second game, I played a decent amount of the beginning and then I stopped for months and then came back and now I'm back into it and I'm playing it consistently. So I'll probably finish that before the next episode. It's so good. I got into these back to back boss fights. The first one was between, well, I don't know. I don't want to say because you're gonna play these games in a couple months, so
Right. Right,
I,
right, right.
I don't want to spoil what characters are in the third game when you haven't even played the first one.
Okay.
But yeah,
Right.
great game. I'm even more excited for the remake. Since I'm getting back into the third one, I hope the remake's good. And this is gonna make me sound like a serial killer, but at one point I got caught and realized I wasn't taking a lot of damage, so I went around with
Hmm.
a knife grabbing people.
That's
Hold on,
insane of
hold
you.
on, wait.
Uh huh.
But I also wasn't wearing a shirt, and I was wearing a mask that resembles Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2. so,
Uh
I,
huh.
so I was just running around as shirtless Raiden. I don't have to cut that. I'm gonna have to like bleep out whenever I say that. But
Yeah.
it's
Censorship on YouTube.
I
No.
sound like a serial killer, but it was a good time.
It sounds like a good time. It's like when you're playing Skyrim and you start using console commands to obliterate NPCs from the universe as we know it. That's my favorite pastime.
But yeah, like I said before, once you get around to playing Metal Gear Solid, we're gonna have to have Ahmed back on the podcast so that we can talk about Metal Gear.
Bet, bet, bet.
But yeah, moving on to animation. So a trailer was released for Adventure Time, Fiona and Cake. Show that's been in the works for a while now. And it
Hmm.
looks really good. It's Adventure Time. I expected nothing less.
Right, 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 right.
Adventure Time's a consistently good show. I haven't watched all the Adventure Time. Eventually, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. But I'm in the
Yes,
middle of
same.
rewatching a bunch of other cartoons, so I'll have to finish those before I get to that. But yeah, I did watch the very last episode of the show just because um, I was just like, this is my childhood. I gotta check this out. Um,
Right.
and yeah, I got a little emotional at the end when they were playing, the ending theme song. It was so good. It was a good
Right.
ending. And I also watched
Right.
the Distant Lands episodes, which
Hmm.
for anybody, if you watch the Distant Lands, watch the Finn and Jake episode last because the order in which they were supposed to come out, the Finn and Jake episode was supposed to be last, but something happened within production, so they released the Finn and Jake episode as the second to last episode instead. But if anybody out there, if you haven't watched it yet and you do watch it, watch the Finn and Jake episode last. It goes, what is it? Bubblegum Marceline, BMO, or no, maybe it's BMO, Bubblegum Marceline, Peppermint Butler, Finn and Jake.
Keep that in mind.
But yeah, yeah. So this show looks like, for some reason, Fiona is in like a normal world,
Hmm.
but there might be like some multiverse shenanigans going on because you have the Ice King. I forget his real name. Um, who's in that universe when in Fiona and Cake's universe is the Ice Queen.
Right.
So I feel like there's some multiverse shenanigans going on with this
Has
show,
to be.
and
Yeah.
some people are mad that Marshall Lee is black in the normal world, but I think a lot of people forget that Marceline's mother is black
Right.
and that her father is a demon.
Right.
So before Marceline was a vampire, she was black, and so it's the same way with Marshall Lee. Their skin just got pale after they got turned into a vampire or a demon or
Exactly.
whatever. Um, and also both of their voice actors are black, and that makes me wonder if Childish Gambino will be reprising
That's what to
his
say.
role as Marshall Lee because he's a very busy man and often can't like do a lot of things that he used to work on. So I wonder if he'll actually be
Yeah.
able to work on this.
I mean, they got him back on for the Community movie, so
I mean, yeah, but that is just been delayed for so long because it's taken them so long to get him on.
okay, fair.
That's literally the only reason that movie hasn't happened yet. It's because he's so busy.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what this is about. I forgot what the release date was. But
Yes.
did you check out the trailer for Lazarus?
I took a peek at it.
Yes. So this is Shinichiro Watanabe's newest anime with Chad Selicki, the director of John Wick 1 through 4, and he's going to be the action director for this show, and it's being animated by Studio Mappa. For those who don't know, Shinichiro Watanabe, creator of Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, one of my
Carol Tuesday.
yeah, Carol and Tuesday, one of my favorite just anime writers, directors of all time. Cowboy Bebop's my second favorite anime of all time. I'm excited to see this. It looks good.
Noted.
There's a lot of very the main character fights very similar to Spike from Cowboy
Ooh,
Bebop in the way that he
exciting.
moves.
Exciting.
So it's like there's a bunch of really good fight scenes, and it looks like it takes place partly in a prison. So I'm excited to see what this is about. It's gonna be on I think it's gonna be airing on Adult Swim here in America, so it'll probably be on HBO Max like the next day, like they're doing with My Adventures with Superman. But yeah, Mappa is being worked to death. Good God,
Yeah.
we're never gonna get Dora season 2 unless they give it to a different studio. Give it to Orange. No, because they got
Right.
They got finished Beastars.
And
Trigun.
Trigun Stampede
And
season 2 and Land of the Lustrous season 2. I'm still holding out.
Man, y'all gotta give these anime studios some praise. They be getting overworked, man. Japanese work culture is weird, but we'll actually get to that later because there's a show I've been watching that's actually about that. But Kizazi Moto Generation Fire has aired on Disney Plus. Disney has just not been advertising it. For those who don't remember, it's an African animated and Afro-futuristic anthology series that's on Disney Plus. Executive produced by the director of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Peter Ramsey, with Triggerfish as the lead studio, working in collaboration with animation studios across the continent and globally. So far, I've only managed to catch the first episode, but I'll probably try and watch them all before next episode so we can talk about it. The synopsis for the episode is the episode's called Herder Boy. The synopsis is that Dahura jumps off a spaceship over the Chiwizi Highlands and meets his sister, Captain Kotono, who is herding cattle with two fellow herders named Dushimi and Isigoma. The cattle produce Chewezanite, are harvested for their crystals that power their society. Like I said, this is futuristic. They're herding these cows that have these antlers that grow crystal on them as they consume, food.
Right.
And, essentially there's these weird monsters that like attack the cattle, so they have to protect the cattle whenever they take them out to get this Chewezanite that powers their society. It was a fun episode. I'm excited for the second episode the most. It's this racing episode that reminds me of, dang, I forgot the name of that movie, but it's by what's the studio that does Kill la Kill? Studio Trigger.
Oh,
Yeah.
Studio Trigger, yeah.
That the first thing they ever worked on. I think it was even before they formally. No, I think this was after they formally became Trigger. But that racing movie they made, I can't remember what it's called. But there's an episode.
I feel like I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember what it's called either.
Yeah, there's an episode that reminds me of that I'm excited to watch. But yeah, check it out if you can. This is an anthology series, so episodes are relatively short, like no longer than like 16 minutes from what I saw. So this came out of nowhere. Invincible Atom Eve Special, a special hour-long episode of Invincible focusing on Atom Eve. Have you seen Invincible?
I have not. My girlfriend's really into it, and she's told me a lot about it.
Invincible's good. So when Invincible came out, I didn't think I would like it because I thought it was just going to be like The Boys but animated, and I'm not a fan of The Boys.
Right.
But it's nothing like The Boys at all. It is more of it's not trying to be a what if superheroes were real story. It's like normal over the top goofy superhero stuff. It just happens to be violent. And even then, like Atom Eve Special, watching it the whole time, I'm waiting for them to pull the rug out from under me, like they did with Invincible in that first episode with the violence. But there wasn't a lot of like super gory violence in this Atom Eve Special.
That's a surprise.
Surprisingly enough, I think that. I wonder. Yeah, I don't think there's any big spoilers for the first season of the show in the Atom Eve Special. So you could probably watch that first if you really wanted to.
Bet.
But yeah, it was real good. I'm not sure if this is based off of a one-shot issue that I missed, or if it's like original content that the creator Robert Kirkman, who works on the show and also created the Walking Dead comics. I'm not sure I think it's original, but I tried to look up to see if it was a comic before, so I don't think it was. They also released a trailer for Invincible Season 2 at San Diego Comic-Con. And did you manage to check that out?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, it's releasing November 3rd, and we got a sneak peek into, what portion of the comic this season will be covering. But, like, majority of the trailer almost was dedicated to just announcing all of the new actors joining the series. And the cast was already star-studded with, people like J.K. Simmons voicing Omni-Man.
Right.
and Steven Yeun voicing Invincible himself. But yeah, there's a lot more. Like Peter Cullen, who has been the voice of Optimus Prime since his inception in the cartoon, and in all of the live action movies, is voicing a character in this show, a character that's very important to the series that I'm excited to see. Yeah, I'm excited for season two. Invincible's good.
That's nice.
What I was getting to earlier that I kind of glossed over, I forgot to say, was that like once I finally decided I was gonna watch it, I read the entirety of the comic before I actually sat down and watched the show. Like over the span of like a week or two, I just ran through the comic, and this is a comic that went for like over 10 years,
Oh wow.
and I just blitzed through that comic. And I'm currently in the middle of rereading it actually because when you run through something so fast, you gotta you forget some stuff. So I'm like going back through it and trying to actually take my time this time. Similar like what I did with Chainsaw Man, where I just kind of ran through it the first time, and then around the like right before the part two came out, I decided to reread the entirety of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, Invincible's great. I definitely suggest the comic as well. I feel like they
Gotcha,
make
gotcha.
enough changes in the show. Like for the most part, unlike most like American comic book adaptations, Invincible is a one-to-one adaptation, similar to
Ooh,
something like an anime, because this is
you don't get that often.
it's not. Well, I was gonna say it's not part of a greater universe, but it kind of is, but not really. It's like there are some other Image comic characters that do show up in the Invincible universe, but they haven't showed up or they haven't been big characters in the show itself. And
Got
it's mostly an isolated thing, so they don't have to worry about all this connected stuff. And similar to manga, where it's its own isolated thing, it's easy for them to try and adapt it one to one. And all the changes being made are just changes that Robert Kirkman feels is just makes the story better.
fun. That's fun.
But yeah, speaking of Japanese work culture, Zom 100 is about. Well, it is very clearly a commentary on Japanese work culture. The first episode, the whole idea is that this guy is working for this production company. He was excited to get there. But after 3 years, he realized, oh, it's not what I think it is, and it's just them being overworked, sleeping at work. He goes home. He watches like a movie, and he essentially becomes a living zombie. And then
Right.
an actual zombie apocalypse happens, and he's happy as hell because he doesn't have to work anymore.
Anymore. That is so
And
funny.
that is the show. Is him, essentially juxtaposing his lifestyle, which is he wants to like spend it like going down his bucket list of things he wants to do now that he doesn't have to work, versus
Mm,
some of the other characters who are just trying to actually survive and think that what he's doing is stupid.
right.
But yeah, it's been real good so far. I've only seen the first two episodes. There's actually a new episode up today that I'm gonna watch later. Yeah,
Nice.
it's good so far. I'd always saw it in the Shonen Jump app randomly, and I think I checked out or started to check out one of the chapters a long time ago, but just didn't get into it. But I don't know. After this first season, I'll probably jump into the manga.
Bet, bet, bet.
Still watching, Jujutsu Kaisen. I think they're on like the
Okay.
third episode now. So one of my least favorite things about Jujutsu Kaisen is that they over explain powers, and also a lot of the powers are sometimes just overly complicated. Um,
Right.
but they over explain them when they are actually relatively simple. For example, Gojo's power is essentially that he can control space and time to an extent, and in doing so, anything that approaches his body gradually slows down until it basically seems like it's not moving anymore.
Right.
And then he also can make like black holes and shoot them at people. That's basically his power. But the way they explain it in the show makes it sound like the most overcomplicated thing for no reason. It's not really that complicated. They just make it more complicated than it really is. But yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen is still good. Mappa, as overworked as they are, they still do some good work. They do some great
Good
work.
work. Yeah. It's funny because it's funny that you bring up Gojo's ability because there's been a trend on Twitter with the domain expansion text over random manga panels that don't have anything to do with Jujutsu Kaisen. I've seen it done to like Witch Hat Atelier, Madoka Magica. It's so silly.
Let me tell you something about Domain Expansion because I'm reading the manga, fully caught up on the
Uh,
manga, and right now there's this big fight happening between these two characters that are super powerful, and this is classic over explanation and over complication of everything, and that's just what Jujutsu Kaisen is. And it's just some other characters essentially. It's some Dragon Ball Z type stuff where other characters are narrating the fight as it happens. Um,
Oh
and they're narrating
boy.
the fight and talking about all these complicated things that it's hard to understand while I'm watching the fight. And there's a bunch of domain expansions inside of domain expansions and expanding your domain, but then shrinking your domain. I was just like, bro, calm down. I just want to see them fight. I've been waiting for this fight for a long time, and you're taking the fun out of it.
Just fight and get it over with. Oh man.
It's a lot. It's still fun though. Like honestly, how ridiculously overcomplicated powers is. It's funny, and the writer goes out of his way to make jokes about it every now and again. Like at one point, there's one character who easily has the most overcomplicated power in the entire series. Went to explain his power a second time, and then just stopped
A
halfway through.
second time is
And then
crazy.
he just stopped halfway through. He was like, you know what? You don't need to know this. You'll just see it as the fight goes along. And I go, yes, that's how you explain the power. You explain
Yes.
it as it's happening. You don't explain the whole thing beforehand. And the reason they do that is because he knows it's overcomplicated. He needs to calm down.
That's good.
But anyway, watching Bleach. That last episode of Bleach was so damn good, man. There's a character who has the ability to essentially turn inverted controls on in real life. so left becomes right, up becomes down, and I'm watching it subbed, because I'm watching it as it airs, and even the subtitles were backwards. It threw
That
me
is
way
so
off. I was like, I had to stop and pause and go, wait, what? The subtitles are backwards? He's affecting real life. What's happening right now?
it's absurd.
It was ridiculous. It was cool as hell. But and the music that plays while he explains it is so good. Shiro Sagusu is the composer for Bleach, and his score for Bleach has always been incredible. One of the greatest anime scores of all time, in my opinion. Especially the Iranka arc score is just full of a bunch of like Spanish flamenco music. It's so good. And Shinji is known to have this character I was talking about already known to have one of the best songs played during like a moment where he comes in and is a badass. And then he has another one this time, but it's a whole R&B song that low key doesn't completely fit with the scene, but I'm not mad at it because the song was so good.
That's crazy.
Bleach soundtrack is good for no reason, and this season has a lot of remixes of songs from throughout the entirety of the series, that are great. But was it Ichigo's his main theme number one is just amazing. It's just this black woman singing her soul out. It's so good. But yeah, that's all I got in anime. Moving on to My Adventures with Superman. Did you manage to check out the last 2 episodes?
I didn't, but I am gonna watch them today when I do my binge watching because I have a lot of stuff to catch up on.
Okay, I'm loving Lois's characterization as being too hungry and reckless of a reporter, and constantly getting herself and Clark and Jimmy into trouble because of it. And the build up to Lois and Clark's relationship is really good so far. But I'm afraid that Jimmy might mess it up somehow out of jealousy of being a third wheel. But we'll see. Yeah, the rest of this I can't talk about, but I will talk about. Wait, you haven't seen the 3rd episode at all?
No.
Dang. Well, okay, I'm gonna have to be ambiguous about this then. You know what? I actually can talk about the first 2 episodes because they do it in the first 2 episodes too. 4 episodes in, this show has one major problem for me, and that is that the villains suck. The reason the villains suck for me, and the reason the villains are the weakest part of the show, is because it feels like they're trying way too hard to make them different, and in the process removing their character. The electric villain that shows up in the first 2 episodes was Livewire, a villain who debuted in Superman the Animated Series and then eventually made her way into the comics, similar to how Harley Quinn did with Batman the Animated Series.
Right.
She was in Superman Animated Series, she was a radio personality who thrived on fake news and outrage, and that made her an interesting foil for, both Superman, Clark, and, Lois. Superman's
Right.
truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, and Lois and Clark, they're just reporters in general. So naturally they work in, finding out the truth about things. And she's also just a perfect villain for the modern day. They could have made her a podcast host, like an Alex Jones parody, where she's just using, all this fake news and outrage to get attention to her content. Um,
Right.
and instead, they made her this generic arms dealer who gets turned into a superhuman by some technological mishap, which is like one of the most basic supervillain origins in the book.
Right. Ooh, that's boring.
And like, oh yeah, you know what? Let me send you a picture of what Livewire. Actually, no, you just Google Livewire.
Okay. Okay.
Google Superman Livewire. You're gonna be so upset at how good she looks and
What?
how exactly
What?
she looks
That is
so good.
asinine.
So it's not much of a spoiler to talk about the villain that shows up in the episode after that, but I'm not going to spoil the latest episode. There's a
Okay.
character that shows up named Banshee. Her power, at least in the show, they make it seem like her only power is supersonic scream, similar to something like Black Canary.
Hmm.
But that's not true. The thing about this is that they don't say it, they haven't said it yet, but it's very clear that all these characters are getting their powers from Kryptonian technology. They probably came to
Right.
Earth when Superman crash landed. Um,
Right. Right. Right.
and that trend continues with every single villain. The thing is, in the comics, Silver Banshee is a actual, literal, magical banshee.
Hmm.
And her powers don't just stop at supersonic scream. Her scream literally sucks the life out of people, but also she can't kill you with her scream unless she knows your first and last name, and she can possess people like a ghost.
Her
And she
design is super neat.
who's it, Silver Banshee?
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks cool. You're gonna be so disappointed when you watch that episode.
Oh boy.
And the
Oh
sad part
boy.
is, and I don't blame it on him, because I know it's more so, it was probably what he was told to design around. It was probably like the restrictions he had. But the GOAT, Chris Enka, who designed Spider-Man 2099 for Across the Spider-Verse, and as well as, spoiler alert, actually I'm not going to say who it is, but the character that shows up at the very end. He designed a lot of characters for that movie just in general. Chris Enka,
God.
he did a lot of designs for this show. And I'm mad because I discovered him through just some random, like, just his own fan art of coming up with designs for Wonder Woman. That's how I discovered him, and he has some of my favorite Wonder Woman designs I've ever seen in my life. Um, so I know he could do really good designs for DC characters, and I feel like they just restricted his creativity, because I know he would have came up with the dopest Silver Banshee and Livewire designs in the history of man.
Right.
But I'll save what I'm going to say about this next villain for next episode. All I'll say is that they combine two villains that have absolutely nothing to do with each other, and I hate it. Like I said, this show's good, but the reason I don't like this is because other than Lex Luthor, Doomsday, Darkseid, and Brainiac, other than those four villains, can you name any other Superman villains?
No.
Exactly. Nobody, especially the general audience, knows Superman's villains well enough for them to decide that they should change them so significantly. I'm not saying they can't change them at all. Like, for example, the way Livewire gets her electric powers in the comics is that she's doing a live show, and there's a thunderstorm starts happening. The stage gets electrocuted. She gets powers. Very goofy comic book stuff. And in this, she gets it from some alien technology. I think that's a better version of it, actually. It makes more sense that she gets it from alien technology rather than just she gets struck by lightning and some reason that gives her superpowers. But that's fine. But taking away the magical aspect of Silver Banshee, that's boring. And also
Right.
taking away the entire very interesting and very topical backstory of Livewire is boring. I feel like they're really good with the relationships between Clark and Lois and Jimmy and all of those interpersonal relationships, but I feel like they suck at writing villains, and that they just want to put their own stamp on these characters, but it's like not enough people know these characters well enough for you to be changing them so significantly, and you're changing them for the worse. It'd be different if you were changing them for the better, but they're not. It just saddens me, and it's already a thing that people think that Superman has boring villains, which just isn't the case. People just don't know his villains. It's not that they're boring. You think this character has existed for almost 100 years without any interesting characters outside of the four that I just named? Of course not.
Right.
And yeah, I hope they do better with the villains in the future, but I don't think they will. Um,
Which
but
is a shame.
I knew very little about Silver Banshee before reading a Superman comic not too long ago where she shows up. So I decided to actually go back and read some Silver Banshee comics. So I read The very first comic she ever appeared in, Superman number 595, from 1987 by John Byrne, where she's going from bookstore to bookstore looking for a very specific book and killing people in the process. Then I read Supergirl number 11 and 12 from 1996 by Peter David and Greg Land, where Silver Banshee is accidentally freed by Supergirl from a prison made by Satan. Um, and in this issue, this is why I discovered that she can possess people, and that in the process she like takes on parts of their personalities, and that her screams can kill people only if she knows their full name, and that it like
Right.
sucks the life from them and turns them into like desiccated husk. It's such a cool visual because usually when a person just screams, they just fly away, but she literally just drains the life from people. It's really cool. Um, and then lastly, I checked out Action Comics number 820 from 2004 by Chuck Austin and Carlos Deanda, where Silver Banshee possesses a neat freak, and as a result, she lines the bodies of all the people she kills up neatly in the middle of the street. It is creepy as hell. Um,
Oh,
and this issue also shows just how scary Silver Banshee can be, because the scene of her possessing the lady early on in the issue, Joyce Chin draws her with like sharp teeth and a big, long, creepy venom-like tongue. And she also draws her like that when she's screaming people to death. And
right.
all this did was make me even more upset that she's just a generic tech villain in My Adventures with Superman. Yeah,
That sounds like a total bummer.
but also
I gotta read
coincidentally,
the
yeah,
comic also.
yeah, you got to check out Superman. Superman's cool. Uh, but coincidentally, in the current ongoing Superman comic, in the last issue, Silver Banshee attacked Superman, and this continues that. Um, she was infected with some type of kryptonite that mutates her powers by these new mysterious villains named Mr. Graft and Dr. Farm. This mutation causes her to involuntarily scream, and these screams create ghost-like creatures that grab Superman. It's a really cool visual. Um, Also, last issue, it was revealed that Jimmy Olsen was dating Siobhan, which is the name of Silver Banshee. And at the end, Clark and Lois go on a double date with Jimmy and Siobhan. And Clark's hearing was damaged in the fight, so for the night, he has like a normal person's level of hearing. Um, but because of that, he can't hear Lex Luthor's pleas for help as he's being stabbed to death in prison.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, this comic's good.
Curveball.
Oh man, it's so wild. I was reading it and I like my jaw dropped. I was like, "Hey, yo, this is messed up." But next is oh my god, Naruto, the hole within the spiral. How much have you seen
No,
any of
going
Naruto?
on? No.
Huh?
I
What?
haven't. I haven't.
You haven't seen any Naruto?
Huh?
You haven't seen any Naruto?
No.
Okay, but what were you saying?
I was saying it's still going. Like
No, no,
I
Naruto.
thought.
Naruto ended like 10 years ago. No, not 10 years ago, but like 7 years ago, something like that. Naruto ended a while ago. Boruto's going on, but nobody watches
That's what
that.
I mean.
Um, but this is the type of additional Naruto content I would like to see more of. So Naruto: The Hole Within the Spiral is a one shot that Kishimoto made based off of a character that won a popularity poll. So this popularity poll looks weird. And at first I didn't understand why, but then later on when I realized that they were making a one shot after whoever won, it made sense because, Shonen Jump manga, they do popularity polls in their comics. And in the top 10 or 20 really were not the normal characters you usually see in the top 20 of Naruto polls. And that threw me off. It was like characters that are normally never this high, and I was like, "What the hell? Since when did this character get so popular? Did something happen in Boruto that I don't know about?" But the
Right.
reason was because specifically a one shot would be written about this character, so people were, boosting up characters they normally wouldn't, because they just wanted to see more of that character's story. And one of those
Makes sense.
characters was Minato. I won't say much about who Minato is because I don't want to spoil you. But it was some of the best Naruto content ever. This is the first time, as far as I know, that Kishimoto has drawn a comic since Naruto ended. Um,
Wow.
this story is about Minato and his girlfriend Kushina, and it tells the origin of the Rasengan and how it directly connects to the love between Minato and Kushina, and retroactively Naruto. Um,
Oh,
these last few side stories that Kishimoto has been writing are have been getting adapted into the manga. Have proven that he can write women very well, despite how he writes them in the original series, which I'm sure you know of the infamy of Sakura in Naruto, and how poorly written she is, and how that results in a lot of people hating her
I
unnecessarily.
like
It's not
her.
her fault,
Yeah.
because she's an interesting character. She just doesn't get her just dues, you know?
Right.
Um,
Right.
like I said, this is also the type of stuff I want to see from Naruto moving forward. There's such a rich history to explore, both in the past as well as in between Naruto and Boruto. I don't care about their kids. I don't. Especially when there's so much to explore in the world that we already know. Similar to something like Star Wars, where it's like it's this big galaxy where there's just so much stuff to do that you can introduce new things within that world without retconning anything. Like as
Right.
you could do the same thing with Naruto. There's so many ninjas. There are whole villages that we barely get to really know about in Naruto that you could give them their whole like short story, their own short story, and it wouldn't really you wouldn't have to retcon anything. You could easily make it fit nice and snugly with everything else because we already don't know a lot about them. And that's more of what I would like to see from Naruto going forward, and I hope that Kishimoto does more stuff like this. But yeah, he's the goat when it comes to the flow of his panels and the action being clear and concise. It leaves absolutely no room for confusion on what's going on. I'm sure you've read some manga where you cannot tell what's happening in the action. It's
Yeah.
just
I got
a
guys for
blur.
that.
It's just a blur of lines, and you're confused, and you're just like, why? Naruto has never been like that. Naruto is always clear and concise and easy to read. It's one of the reasons I like Naruto so much. It's the same thing with like Bleach and dang, there's another one, Dragon Ball. They're all known to have just very clean and
Panel
clear
work.
panel work and just art in general. And One Piece used to, but nowadays it's far too much going on in every single page because it's clear that Oda is trying to like just get it done.
Real. Real.
But yeah, both
I don't blame.
Kishimoto. Yeah, I don't blame him either. He's been working on this for literally over 20 years. Um,
Right.
both Kishimoto and Kubo came back with one shots that showed everyone why they were on the top for so long, why they were in the big three. But yeah, reading Dark Knights of Steel, there's only one issue left. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this medieval take on the DC universe. Like I said before, I kind of let some people's opinions on comic book Twitter kind of taint minds, and then I started reading it again and going, nah, this is good. I'm not gonna let y'all convince me this is bad. Dark Knights of Steel is good. I would definitely suggest it. It's gonna be 12 issues. That's the last issue that's coming out probably this month. The release schedule has been weird. It should have been done like half a year ago, but there have been a lot of like month breaks in between. Uh, Still reading Poison Ivy. Ivy's back in Gotham and needs a place to stay outside of the city to hide from the Bat family, so she chooses a shack in a swamp. But Killer Croc has already taken up residence there because condos are being developed where he usually stays. And have destroyed the sewers around that area. So Ivy agrees to shut them down in return for getting the swamp to herself. Static and Anansi team up. So Static teams up with African superhero Anansi the Spider, based off the famous African fable, which I'm sure you know about.
Do it.
Yeah, this he first was created for it, I believe, and appeared in the Static cartoon. And eventually made its way into the comics. But this is in the current Static run, they have a one shot where they team up again, and it's really fun.
Nice, not?
Yeah, but I also read the latest Static issue where Static goes searching for his missing mentee and runs into the shadowy figure that's been killing the quote unquote vigilantes, really just racist people that are kidnapping this world's essentially version of mutants, the Bang Babies. And this shadowy figure is fighting for those people that are being kidnapped, but in the most violent ways possible. And naturally, Static doesn't, he doesn't agree with that. And
Right.
this person thinks that Static just isn't doing enough.
Mm,
So moving on to TV and film. We'll save Barbie for last. So you check out the trailer for Outlaw, Johnny Black.
yes.
So this is from the people who brought us Black Dynamite, a parody of a black exploitation film starring Michael J. White as the titular character from 2009, and it also had a a cartoon series based off of it that was on Adult Swim for a while. Have you ever seen Black Dynamite?
I've seen pieces of it. I haven't watched the whole thing.
Yeah, Black Dynamite's so funny. It's one of my favorite movies ever. I've seen that movie so many times. Black Dynamite is hilarious. This has a similar feeling, but it's a western, and this time it's directed by Michael J. White. So the synopsis is hell-bent on avenging the death of his father, Johnny Black vows to gun down Brett Clayton and become a wanted man in the process while posing as a preacher in a small mining town that's been taken over by a notorious land baron. It looks fun. It's going to be in theaters, and I'm definitely going to check it out in theaters. You know what they say, gotta support black business.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited for this movie. If it's anything like, it's from the same people that wrote Black Dynamite, so if it's anything like Black Dynamite, it's gonna be good.
Right.
Other than Michael J. White, a couple other returning cast members from Black Dynamite are also in this movie, so I'm excited for it. It's probably gonna be hilarious. So there was actually some more Superman Legacy casting news, like a day or so after we talked about it on the podcast. Anthony Carrigan will be playing Metamorpho in Superman Legacy. So Anthony Carrigan has played Victor Zsasz in Gotham, and I think he might have played some other comic book characters before. But it seems like they're setting up for the Terrifics, which is a team made a few years ago based off of the Fantastic Four, but it's featuring Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, Plastic Man, and Phantom Girl. Mr. Terrific, his whole thing is that he has a natural aptitude for natural aptitudes, which basically just means he's good at everything. He's an Olympic level athlete, and he's one of the smartest people on the planet. And his story is essentially that he's bored with just regular stuff, so he becomes a superhero to find something challenging to do in life. And Metamorpho, I've talked about him last episode when I was talking about Batman Superman World's Finest. He has the ability to control the elements that make up the human body within himself and essentially transform into all of those. Plastic Man, he's a stretchy person. He's the Mr. Fantastic of this. And Phantom Girl can phase through objects. But yeah, all of these characters were pre-existing characters before the Terrifics were created a few years ago. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with those in Superman Legacy. And yeah, I really hope we do get a Terrifics show or movie or whatever, because I feel like these are other than Phantom Girl, these are all really popular DC characters, especially Plastic Man. And there have been several people who have been lined up to play Plastic Man over the years. Like, I think Jim Carrey wanted to play Plastic Man. He would be perfect because essentially Plastic Man is Jim Carrey. And also James Gunn in the early 2000s wanted to make a Plastic Man movie with Matthew Lillard, aka Shaggy, Scooby Doo, and one of the characters from Scream. So like, yeah. I'm curious to see what they do, because I don't think older actors are off the table. Jim Carrey's off the table because he's retired, but Matthew Lillard isn't, because they do have Nathan Fillion playing the Green Lantern. Nathan Fillion's pretty old. Not old. That was rude. He's older, is what I meant to say. He's an older guy playing a superhero character. They don't usually do that because they want people to be playing these characters for a while. So the fact that they cast an older person to play Guy Gardner means that they might cast an older person to play Plastic Man, especially since in the comics, Plastic Man has a kid who's like a grown man and has the same powers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they cast someone older to play Plastic Man and then, cast someone younger to essentially play his son, who's going to carry his torch moving forward. But yeah, did you get a chance to check out the One Piece live action trailer?
I did.
So, and honestly, doesn't look that bad. I still think it's completely unnecessary. And also the weirdest anime to adapt to live action ever.
Right. It's like trying to do a JoJo's live action, which they did.
No, I disagree there. I think JoJo works much better in live action than One Piece or most things.
Fair.
They just haven't done it well. But it can definitely work in live action. But like, yeah, it honestly looks like it'll be fun. I hope it's good. Like, I don't want it to be bad.
Right.
But it honestly looks like it might be pretty fun. It seems like it's being pretty faithful. I'm surprised at some of the designs of the characters and how faithful they've managed to have some of them be to how they look in the comics. It seems like they'll be going up toward the Arlong Park arc at the very end, which is interesting. I wonder how many episodes. I don't know if they've said how many episodes this season will have, because I don't know. I hope these episodes are like an hour long or something, because they got a lot to cover. One Piece, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a new trailer for the Marvels, and I'm not super excited for this one. Like I said before, I'm not going out of my way to watch every Marvel movie and show anymore. So unless this gets great reviews in November, I'm gonna just wait till it hits Disney Plus.
Real.
But Barbie.
I have a lot of thoughts on Barbie, but I'm not gonna like. I'm not gonna spoil it for you because first of all, it was fantastic. Barbie was a great movie. I went in with kind of low expectations because it's a movie about Barbie. Like it's not going to break cinema, but it was a fantastic movie. And you might not know this about me, but I am a nerd for like I didn't really have Barbie dolls growing up. I was more of a Monster High and Littlest Pet Shop child, but I am a nerd when it comes to discontinued and like that hidden but lesser known Barbies, and the whole film I was like geeking out to my girlfriend who I went to go see it with because I was like, they put that Barbie in from blah 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 blah, and it was very nice. It's a good movie. Barbie's a good movie.
Yeah, you see, I was expecting it to be good because people have been hyping it up way before it came out on Twitter for months. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people have been making it seem like this is the second coming of Jesus. So I was like, okay, this movie's probably going to be good. And it turns out they were right.
Yeah,
So, I'm excited to see it. We'll
it's
talk
a
more
good
about
movie.
it,
It's got a good message. Yeah,
when that happens.
yeah.
But moving on to video games. At Comic Con, a lot of Mortal Kombat news was shown.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a trailer called Umgadi, which showed off some returning characters. Did you managed to check this trailer out, right?
Yes.
So Lee May returns for the first time since Mortal Kombat Armageddon in 2007, and
Wow.
Tanya returns for the first time since Mortal Kombat X, which came out like 2013, and she wasn't added till like a year or two later. So she's been in like Mortal Kombat recently. um, and she has a 3-section staff, which is like one of my favorite martial arts weapons ever. They're just cool. 3-section staff is just cool. I like watching people
Very
use it. I have like a bunch of YouTube videos saved of people just using 3-section staffs because it's just such a cool weapon. Um,
very cool.
uh, they show Baraka is a playable character. And Tarkatans, rather than being a race of people, are people struck with a disease that disfigures them and turns them into bloodthirsty creatures. And Melina has that disease, and that's how they're explaining why she looks like a Tarkatan. So,
Interesting.
so Darius is a cameo character, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know who he was until now. Um, he debuted in Mortal Kombat Deception and was last playable in Armageddon, which Armageddon was kind of like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate of Mortal Kombat back in the day, where it had up until that point every character that had ever been in Mortal Kombat.
Wow.
Um, so there's also leaked pictures and videos taken from a cutscene that was shown at Comic Con that shows that Reiko is going to be a playable character, who's another character hasn't been in the game since Armageddon, and Motaro, who is I've talked about him briefly in other episodes, he's a centaur, and he's going to be a
Right.
cameo because, or they haven't said he's going to be a cameo, but people assume he's going to be a cameo because you can't play as a centaur in a fighting game. How are you going to make that work?
Right.
Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see those two characters come back. Um, but we're going to talk about some racism in the community of fighting games. There's a serious case of implicit and unconscious bias happening with Tanya's design. For the
Oh
first
boy.
time, due to the fact that graphics have come so far and the graphic fidelity is so high, she is unmistakably a black woman. Now, if you look at her previous designs, you will notice MKX people, for the sake of, defending her, people are saying that she looks black in MKX. She doesn't. I'm gonna be real. I don't think Tanya looks black in MKX at all. But in her previous experience, appearance before that, she looked black as hell. She looked like she was a black woman. She just had straight hair.
Right.
She just looked like a black
You
woman
like
with straight hair. And now in this game, she looks like a black woman, but she doesn't have straight hair. She has more black hair. Her hair looks more like hair that a black person would have. And some
yeah.
people are calling her ugly. And something similar happened with Kimberly from Street Fighter 6, where people were making fun of her forehead and saying that she looked like a black caricature because there's the very prominent hit shape of black people where the jaw and like that area will jut out from a side profile that people
Right.
was always used throughout history as in racist conversations. And Kimberly looks like that because she is a black girl. and she looks great. You know, most people agree that Kimberly has one of the greatest character designs in Street Fighter history. But you
Right.
know, there was some racism when she was announced. And a lot of people clearly just aren't used to seeing black people in video games and are dumbfounded when they're accurately depicted. And
Yeah,
plus,
it's like
go ahead.
I looked her up. This design goes absolutely insane. I love
Exactly,
it.
she looks great. Nobody said anything about her clothes. They're purely talking about her face because they just can't accept that black people exist and don't conform to what people consider to be beautiful based on what white people look like.
Right, European beauty standards.
Exactly.
She's gorgeous. Like,
She looks great.
people are tripping.
Implicit bias is a form of bias that occurs automatically and sometimes unintentionally, but nevertheless, it affects people's judgments and their behavior, and is usually caused by racism, sexism, ableism, whatever, etc. And in
Right,
this
right.
case, is definitely founded in some racism. And y'all just need to meet some more black people. Like, go outside, touch grass.
Please go outside and touch grass. Ugh.
Because I don't know if you know this, black people exist. They aren't made up. They aren't fantasy creatures.
Right, we
And
are here.
and that is what they look like. That is a black woman. But
That could be my aunt. For real, for real.
yeah. But last but not least, the leaks were correct. The combat pack for Mortal Kombat 1, the first combat pack, will consist of Quan Chi, Ermac in his worst design ever, Takeda, who people have been wanting back for a long time, Peacemaker, Omni Man, and Homelander. To me, I thought it was fake because I was like, why would they have both Omni Man and Homelander? That's
And
kind of
Homelander.
weird. It's weird to have both of these two Superman type characters in the same game, but it's super surprising that it happened. Like legitimately, I'm
Right.
awestruck. But I don't know, man. I hope they'll be fun to play. Um,
Yeah. Someone on Twitter, because I saw the leaks. Someone on Twitter was like, "Big day for homophobic little boys," and I was like, "Ah,
that's that's hilarious.
it's true, but you shouldn't say."
That's funny. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they play like eventually. Um,
Yeah.
no, for Mortal Kombat 10, there were always a theme for different combat packs. For Mortal Kombat 10, it was horror. For 11, it was like 80s action characters with a couple outliers like Spawn and Joker who were comic characters, whereas the rest were like RoboCop and Rambo and Terminator. Um,
RoboCop in a Mortal Kombat game is a little insane.
yeah, I mean, RoboCop is known to be unnecessarily violent.
True, 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 true.
um, but yeah, I'm curious to see if there's a theme to the combat pack for this game, or if, excuse me, it'll be more of a mix. So sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it'd be fun to have more of a mix.
Yeah.
Gives them more leeway.
Um, Last but not least, we're gonna talk about Spider-Man 2. There was a story trailer released. Again at Comic Con. This is the Comic Con 2023
Right?
episode. Um, and Graham Phillips is playing Harry Osborn. So there are now two Ben 10 actors on the cast now, because Graham played Ben 10 in the first live-action movie, Ben 10: Race Against Time, in 2007,
Wow.
and Yuri Lowenthal, of course, is voicing Peter.
Of course, of course.
And yeah, at the SDCC panel, Insomniac revealed a few other details. The game takes place 9 to 10 months after Miles Morales. And the story is described as a simple human story, so they're really focusing on just the human aspects of these characters. And they talk a little bit about how just some obvious things about how obviously it's going to be dealing with rage because of the symbiote.
Right, right, right.
And who is it? Miles is trying to enter college while Peter is poor and broke as usual as he's trying to pay for Aunt May's house.
Right,
Just
right.
classic Spider-Man stuff. Struggling, you know, I love my Spider-Man struggling, broken, beaten down, with the worst life possible. I need my mans to be in the dirt. Uh,
I'm
um,
in the trenches. Makes them relatable.
yeah, Mary Jane works for Jonah Jameson at the Daily Bugle, who J. Jonah Jameson is returning to the Daily Bugle, whereas before he just had a podcast and he was a Atlas Jones parody in the last game. And some people were afraid that, I never felt this way, because I just know the basic stuff about Alex Jones. Like his content doesn't pop up on my timeline like ever.
Right.
So I just know the basic stuff about him. Whereas a lot of people felt like making J. Jonah Jameson like Alex Jones made him too irredeemable, which I disagreed with. I think even though he was like I don't feel like he ever said or did anything in those games that felt completely irredeemable. Because the thing about J. Jonah Jameson is he's not a bad person. He is actually a pretty good person deep down, and that's always a character arc he goes through is he makes mistakes, and eventually he essentially becomes Spider-Man's biggest fan. And a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people were afraid that they were just gonna make him evil, like pure evil and a horrible person. But I never thought that was the case. Like I feel like he's
Yeah.
done worse things in the comics. He hasn't even done anything that bad in the game. The only super bad thing he's done in the game is the same thing that he's done in the comic, which he funded the creation of one of Superman, Spider-Man's villains, Scorpion. He's part of the reason Scorpion exists, which is also a thing in the comics. I don't feel like he's done anything in the game to suggest that he won't have some type of redemption arc. But people are glad that he's back at the Daily Bugle because they feel like that pushes him closer to that. Something that a lot of people didn't like, and I agree with, is that Mary Jane is a reporter in this, which isn't completely new. In the Ultimate Universe, she was a reporter. But the thing is, it is a trope in comic books for the main love interest of the main character to be a reporter. You know, Lois Lane, the Flash's wife, Iris West, even Wally West, when he becomes a Flash, his love interest is also a reporter. Batman has Vicky Vale. You know, I can go on and on about superheroes dating reporters. Even women heroes date reporters. It's a trope, and and Mary Jane was always different because she was this kind of like party girl, this bad girl character she was an actress and a model. And you know, superheroes date actresses all the time. I'm excuse me, models all the time, but not necessarily actresses. And also the actress characters never end up being the main love interest. They always are just a stepping stone on the way towards the main love interest, and like are just there for drama and all that. Because Mary Jane is the main love interest. She's the person that Peter marries and has children with. But she was an actress and she was a model, and that was different. And I feel like they made her a reporter. The reason they made her a reporter in the games is so that she would be more of an active participant in the story and would find herself in these dangerous situations more often. But I feel like they could have just found the way to do that while she was an actress. You know, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. Like it's like it doesn't bother me too much. It just bothers me a little bit that it's just a very generic trope, and I would have preferred her to see her more as a an actress. I would like to see more of that version of Mary Jane because we already have barely gotten that. We got it a little bit in the Sam Raimi movies, but in the current Spider-Man movies, Mary Jane, her name isn't even Mary Jane. It's like Michelle Jones or something like that, and she is literally just a copy paste exactly like Peter. It's weird. And the thing about it is, Zendaya could play the best Mary Jane possible because she literally is an actress and a supermodel.
Right.
She wouldn't even have to act. She would just have to be herself.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they actually make that change with her character and have her like want to become a model or something like that. But yeah, like I said, it works for the game for the most part. But it is, I don't know. I feel like maybe they could have done like a mix or something like that. Maybe she could have been an entertainment reporter. I don't know. It's not a strange decision. It's an understandable decision. I get why they did it. I'm not the biggest fan of it. They also say, how much do you know about the story of this game? Before I say this next thing.
Not a lot, but
well,
spoilers I'm not really pressed about.
Miles will confront Mr. Negative over the death of his father. That happens in the very first game. And Mr. Negative is responsible. I don't think he directly is I think he like sets off some bomb and his father dies in the process. So yeah, he's gonna confront Mr. Negative about that. Like I said, there's gonna be a lot of like things about anger in this. And the trailer all but confirms that Harry is Venom. And yeah, everybody knew that. It was in the post-credit scenes for literally both games. They showed that the Venom symbiote was on Harry in both games.
Right.
So the music for this trailer was so good. I was kind of down on the main theme for the game, and I still am. I don't think it's great, especially in comparison to the main themes of the previous two games, which are some of my favorite Spider-Man themes. But I should not have doubted John Pisano because The music in this trailer was incredible, and I was like, okay, that's a good sign. The music in this game is going to be great. He also, coincidentally, I noticed when I was watching, when I was looking at the credits for the Invincible Eve Special, he also does the music for that show, and I had no idea. But yeah, I'm excited for Spider-Man 2. I'm still not a fan of PlayStation and their confidence in the fact that I'll buy this game so they don't feel the need to give a lot of information about the game or trailers. I hate that. I hate that strategy so much. But unfortunately, I pre-ordered the game long ago. Like I'm gonna get the game. It's Spider-Man. Like
It's such a scummy strategy, but it works. But it works.
because they know that like people trust Insomniac or like Naughty Dog or most of their studios because they
Right.
haven't really let us down yet. You know, some people would argue they let us down with Last of Us Part Two, but I like Last of Us Part Two more than the first one. It's besides the point. Um, but like yeah, they haven't really let us down, so people are more willing to like I've said before, I'm not a big person who likes to pre-order stuff, but when it's
Right.
from a studio that I explicitly trust, I pre-order. Like I think I said this. I like the first Mortal Kombat trailer showed us nothing. It's just story stuff. Where usually Mortal Kombat first trailers usually do show gameplay. They show no gameplay in this. Aiara, I didn't just pre-order that game. I pre-ordered the like deluxe edition or something like that.
Hey, yo.
Like I broke my code so quick for Mortal Kombat. You don't understand. I was like, ooh, new Mortal Kombat? Pre-order immediately.
Say less.
But yeah, that's all I've got. If you don't have any video game news or anything like that.
Nope, not besides the Automata anime is back, and I'm very excited. They did a 4 episode marathon, and it's covering one of my favorite arcs in the game, so
Yeah, I
excited to
recently
watch
was
that.
I went to the drawer that has all my games in it, and I saw Near there, and I was like, I'll play you eventually. But there's too many good games coming out this year. I gotta have some free time to really sit down and play that game, and I'm not gonna have that this year. I swear, I really want next year to be a super light year of games.
Yeah,
I
'cause
need I need next year to be so light because this year has been too packed.
so much on my backlog that I have to get caught up on, and I can't because every game ever is coming out this year.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Absurd.
But yeah, I'm Dijon. You find my ads below me. You find Aiara's at below them, and the Muscat's at below that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see our channel grow, wait, I'm saying that wrong. This happens every time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.
Peace.